Hello everybody, Killer Wilson here, and today I will be doing with Deku has Bond's Power, part 23. So in the last part, I just basically covered the, final exams. So continuing the story, it is time for the Two Heroes movie. So it starts off with All Might receiving free tickets for Island instead of two, which he would have gave one to Mirio since, he's All Might's successor, and the other one to, Deku, because Mirio insists that it would be fun to bring Deku along. Deku receiving the ticket from All Might would have went home to pack his stuff. Him also telling Scouchy that he is going to Island, as that day would have came, with Deku getting to see Mirio again, and getting onto All Might's, private plane, which Deku would be shocked to see, since, he never actually went on a plane before. Now, after a few, hours or so, they would have arrived, as All Might would have buffed up, him telling Mirio and Deku to get into their hero costumes. As after they put on their hero costumes, they would have walked out of the plane. But after a few seconds of getting off the plane, lots of people would have started running towards, All Might, with All Might being swarmed by all of his friends, them asking for autographs and taking pictures, which would have took longer than he would have thought, as a girl with blonde hair would bounce over on, a pogo stick, and jumping into All Might, her greeting All Might as, I believe it's called Uncle Might, which Mirio and Deku would have been confused. All Might introducing Melissa and, her checking their hero costumes, as she would notice that Deku's hero costume does not have any armor, like at all. Her being confused and asking Deku why is that. Him saying, well, the thing is, I have super healing, so the armor won't do anything other than get in my way. While they were talking, they would have been going towards David's lab, which David would be still surprised to see All Might. All Might introducing David to Mirio and Deku, and this time Deku does not know who David, is, since, too busy trying to steal money. Also, just as the movie, David would have told Melissa to show Deku and Mirio around the, expo. Her doing so, as they would have left, with David asking All Might how his injury is. Him telling David that it is completely healed, which David would be confused by. Him doing some tests on All Might, and finding out that what All Might said was true, but he is still losing power. Now, back over with Deku and Mirio. They are in the expo, and walking around looking at different inventions, as Mirio would have whispered to Deku, him telling Deku that he kind of needs to go to the restroom. And right after he said that, he would have, went for the restroom. As Deku would start to, ask Melissa about her dad, which she would just tell him. Now, this is when Deku would hear a voice, It saying, "Looks like you're having fun, Bon," with him thinking, "Now shit," as an earphone jack would plug into, well, Deku. Him getting shocked over and over again, with Deku saying, "I know I was wrong, but I don't deserve this," as the earphone jack would pull away from Deku's, well, head. Him turning around to see Jiro, Ochako, and Momo. Him asking, "Why and how are you here anyway?" Them telling Deku why they are, well, there, as they would go to a nearby cafe. Them seeing Kaminari and Mieta. Them working at the cafe, with Ida running towards Mieta and lecturing him about how to be a good worker. Now, Ingenium, or should I say Tensei, would have walked over to greet Deku, him thanking Deku again for helping him, as Deku would hear an explosion, him looking back and running towards it. And whenever he got there, he would have just saw Bakugo exploding a couple, well, not a couple, but a lot of robots, with Kirishima walking towards Deku, him asking Deku how he even got there, as Bakugo would finish with 10 seconds, which is faster than the movie because he trained with Deku a lot. Now, this is when he would have saw Deku, him blasting towards Deku as he would stop right in front of him, and basically yelling, "Oi, Deku, where are you 4 days ago?" I think I was testing. Testing what? Testing a new dish. Why you ask? Because you were supposed to get 2 tickets to Island for winning the sports festival, and since they couldn't contact you, they gave them to me. So how the hell are you here? As this is when Mirio would run over, him saying, "Huh, I finally caught up." Deku saying, I was invited by him." "And who the hell is he?" "Wait, you don't know who he is?" "Was I supposed to? Because I don't." "He is one of the big three of UA, Mirio Togata," with Deku telling Mirio to go along. Him also telling Mirio to not mention All Might inviting them to Island, which Mirio understands, as they would see Todoroki attempting to break Bakugo's record, him getting 14 seconds, with him laughing at Todoroki, him yelling that no one can break his record. Deku, hearing this, would have said, "Are you sure, Kachan?" as he goes on stage and taking out Kurchos, him getting ready, as it would start, with Deku saying, "Crazy Hunt," as Kurchos would start to, well, glow, him throwing it out as it would extend, it scattering and, well, grabbing the heads of multiple robots. It basically looks like Fox Hunt, but in mid-air, the, well, whip would separate into multiple parts, as those parts would go for different, well, body parts, them grabbing those body parts at the same time. Now, after that, it would be announced that Deku got, well, let's say 5 seconds, with Bakugo getting angry. Deku turning over to Bakugo and saying, "Hey Kachan, what happened to your unbreakable record?" Bakugo wanting to, well, explode at Deku, but he would stop, thinking that it will not change the fact that Deku is stronger than him. But he would have still gave Deku the finger. Deku seeing this would have thought, so he can control his anger. Now we will time skip to when it is time for the party, which would go the same except that everyone would be there, including Mirio, Bakugo, and Kirishima. As they arrive, they would find out that the villains are attacking, with Deku seeing David being dragged away, or just taken away. Him telling everyone that he has a plan, which they would do. Now, this is when Bakugo and Kirishima would walk into the scene, them opening the door and basically pretending to be chatting with each other. The villains there immediately rushing towards Bakugo and Kirishima, them beating them up and pinning them onto the ground, or just restraining them. As back with All Might, he is on the stage, All Might would feel a hand touching him, and hearing a voice saying, "Don't panic, All Might, it's me, Bon." All Might being confused, him saying, "Young Bon? What are you doing here?" "Trying to save you, All Might." As Deku breaks the restraint on All Might, him saying, "Okay, All Might, I broke your restraints. You are free, but don't fight them yet." "What? Why?" "Because I have a plan." As Mirio would appear from behind the villain that was restraining Bakugo, him using One for All at 20% to punch that villain in the face, with the other villains turning their attention to Mirio, with Deku saying, "All Might, now!" with All Might getting up and punching the villain closest to him, as the rest of the villains would be confused, them seeing Mirio knocking out villains left and right, while Kaminari, Momo, Jiro, Ochako, and Ida would come in through the door to help release the pro heroes, with Deku deactivating Zero Sign and going in to help release the pro heroes. Him also telling All Might that the villain boss, or should I say, Wolfram and David are going to the top floor, with All Might going to the top floor. Now all the heroes there would have been released, them taking care of most if not all of the villains there. After that, they would have thanked the group for saving them, as Deku would have told the heroes that the villain boss is on the top floor, and that they need to go help All Might to save David's shield. Him also asking the heroes if they can give him and the group temporary hero license, or just allow them to help and use their quirks, which they would, as the heroes would split up, with a quarter of the heroes there taking the hostage to safety, and the rest of the heroes, including Deku's group, would go up the tower to help All Might and, well, save David's shield. But on every floor of the tower, there would be at least one villain there, with the heroes losing a bit of their numbers each time they go up one level. And by losing, I don't mean dying, I mean staying behind to watch over the villains. Now, this is when they would have got to the top, them not having any more licensed hero, as whenever they got there, they would see a heavily injured All Might, and, well, David bleeding on the ground. Also, there is a giant tower of metal on top of the roof, or should I say the helipad. Now, we will turn back time to when All Might left for the top floor, and this time from All Might's perspective. He would have ran out of the building and jumped up to the top floor, him bursting in to see David protecting Sam, his assistant. All Might, seeing that David just got, shot, he would have been mad, as he would try quickly dispatching all of the other villains. And while All Might was doing that, Wolfram would have took David and the quirk enhancing device and going into the helicopter that just arrived. But just as he got in, All Might would have leaped towards the helicopter, him getting in and grabbing David, punching the helicopter and getting away, or just jumping back onto the helipad. As inside the helicopter, Wolfram would have put on the quirk enhancing device, him jumping out of the crashing helicopter, as he would use his quirk to, well, create a giant tower of metal and starting to throw metal spikes at All Might, which All Might would have dodged them, him jumping up into the air and at Wolfram. All Might punching Wolfram in the face, as Wolfram would just use his hand to block the attack, with him starting to glow red, him grabbing All Might's neck and starting to choke him. While he was doing that, he would have been also stabbing All Might with metal spikes, with All Might, of course, screaming out in pain, him using all of his strength to punch Wolfram in the face, this making Wolfram lose his grip on All Might's neck, as All Might would use this opportunity to get away from Wolfram, him jumping away and back onto the helipad. And this is when the others, including Deku, would arrive. Now, Deku, seeing All Might heavily injured, would immediately run towards All Might. As while Deku was running towards All Might, this is when a giant block of metal is thrown towards All Might. Deku taking out Korcho's and using Banishing Kill to slice the block in half, as Wolfram would send multiple metal spears at Deku, with Deku taking them head on, him letting those metal spears stab through him, as Deku's blood would burst out. And since he is in front of All Might, his blood would land on All Might's, well, injuries. This, of course, healing All Might and giving him back a bit of his stamina, as Bakugo would blast towards Wolfram, and Mirio would use One for All at 50%. And if you are wondering why 50%, let's just say that he can use up to 50% of One for All at max without breaking his body. Now, while Bakugo was blasting towards Wolfram, he would keep throwing metal objects at Bakugo, with Bakugo maneuvering around them and managing to reach Wolfram, as he throws a giant blast of explosion towards Wolfram with all his strength, of course, with Wolfram using a metal plate to block the attack, as Mirio would just use his permutation to go right through the metal plate and punching Wolfram. But before Mirio's punch can reach Wolfram, he would have tried to stop Mirio's hand, or should I say punch, him trying to block the attack with his hands, but Mirio would just go through his hand and straight into his face. But to Mirio's surprise, Wolfram would have tanked his attack, him grabbing Mirio and throwing him off the building. This confusing Deku since, Mirio can basically permutate through everything. So he is confused as to how Wolfram actually touched Mirio. But before Deku can do anything else, he would have saw Mirio, him immediately understanding what Mirio is about to do. since Mirio gave Deku a signal. The signal of, "Don't worry, I have a plan." After seeing that, Deku would have used Fox Hunt to grab Bakugo and pulling him back onto the helipad, with All Might jumping back up and leaping towards Wolverine, him throwing a Detroit Smash at Wolverine. But Wolverine would have just thrown a giant block of metal to, block it, as he would wrap some metal around All Might's leg and trying to throw him off as well. But Deku would have immediately used Snatch to, pull All Might back onto the helipad, him telling All Might that Muriel has a plan, and that they should end this right now. As while Deku was talking to All Might, Todoroki would have thrown wave after wave of ice and fire towards Wolverine. This is when Deku would have thrown Corchos at Bakugo, him shouting, "Kachan, catch!" Bakugo catching Corchos and yelling, "What do you want, Deku?" "Don't lose that, and protect Jiro for me, would ya?" "What are you trying to do, Deku?" "Something reckless." Hunter Fest. As Deku would take the energy of every villain around him. This, of course, including the villains that are under Deku. Or should I say from the lower floors. Him buffing up. And if you want to know how strong he is now, he is basically as strong as All Might in his full body mode. And by full body mode, I mean him not transferring his energy into one body part. If he did that, his body, or should I say that body part, would be at least 2 times as strong as All Might. Or should I say has the physical strength of 2 All Mights. Now, this is when Deku and All Might would have jumped straight towards Wolverine, with Wolverine throwing a block of metal straight towards both of them, which All Might would have thrown a Detroit Smash to break that giant block of metal, with Deku jumping past All Might as he would transfer all of his energy into his right hand, or should I say right arm. This is when something would have fly past Bakugo, him saying, "Is that Muriel?" with Muriel flying straight towards Wolverine, and right next to, well, Deku, him using 100% of One for All in his left hand, as both of them would yell, "Detroit Smash!" them smashing their fists into Wolverine's face. This would have created a giant explosion which would have sent a huge shockwave across the entire building. And as the smoke clears, they would see Deku and Muriel standing there, each having a broken arm, with Deku giving Muriel some of his blood, healing his wounds. While Deku was doing that, his own wounds would have healed back up as well. And, well, the rest of the movie would have been the same. Now, this is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. They'll be amazing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!